Hey, 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 what's going on? It's hump day. What's going on? How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's having a good day. Hey, you listen to Eyes on Smash Bros Radio, the only award-winning digital radio station located in Birmingham, Alabama. Appreciate you. If you have not done so, please like, follow, share, and subscribe. We appreciate you. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on TikTok as well as Instagram. Appreciate you stopping in. As usual, I'm Oz, and you can find me anywhere. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. You can also find me on Facebook. So I appreciate you stopping in and listening to me, taking time out with me. I appreciate that tremendously. If you have not done so, please, November 9th, 2024, 1888 Bully Kennel is presenting the Southern Bully Showdown. Number two, if you have not done so, please put it down on your calendar. It's at Bessemer Center, Bessemer Civic Center. And there's going to be 4 ICBR shows as well as one huge fun show. If you are a vendor, if you have a food truck, if you wish to be a sponsor, if you wish to donate, you can contact DeJuan Hall at 205-460-6435. DeJuan Hall, 205-460-6435. Also, if you'd like to participate, give them a call. As I stated before, this is a way of the community getting to get a better understanding of exactly what bullies are all about, and try to dismiss some of the negative connotations or negative opinions out there, because we have to keep in mind that it's not the pet's place, it's not the dog's fault, it's the owner's fault. So you'd be surprised that the majority of the bullies that I know, when I say majority, these are the ones that I know personally, are very lovable pets, and that's because of their owners. So this is a way of also, connecting. It's a way of networking. There are some extremely professional kennels out there, and if you are if you're looking for a bully, this will give you a chance of hooking up with the kennels and seeing the different type of breeds and exactly what you're looking for. So we hope that you'll stop in. The 1888 Kennel Southern Bully Showdown at Bessemer Civic Center, DeJuan Hall, 205-460-6435. So check us out. Check us out. Check us out. Check us out. So there is a lot going on, and there is a lot of sadness, a lot of discernment, a lot of wondering exactly what's going on. And so I was thinking yesterday, I had some news. My little brother received some news that his mom was placed in hospice. And so now they're learning that she has, the diagnosis is she has very few, she has less time. And so this jolted me back to when my mom was sick and she was hospitalized. And it jolted me back when my grandmother was in the hospital and I was taking AP classes up at the University of Alabama. So, and then I cannot imagine what it's like to be a parent now. I cannot imagine what it's like to have that responsibility of having the next generation, to be responsible of giving the next generation the foundation to be successful. And so as usual, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I came up with this let go, let God. So, hey, good morning to you, Destiny. So, sometimes we have this mentality that we always have to be okay. We always have to be jovial. We always have to be happy. We always have to be upbeat. And that is not necessarily so. People don't seem to understand that it's okay not to be okay. Sometimes we get to the point to where uh, we just don't know what in the world is happening to us. We don't know. We don't know what or how we're going to be able to deal, how we're going to be able to cope, how we're going to be able to continue. And so we have to get to the point to where uh, we have to take a step back. We have to we have to let it go and give the responsibility to a higher power. So you have different type of spiritualities. You have the human spirituality, and you are the spiritual, the human mind, and you have the spiritual mind. And I would like to think that because we are created by a creator, we have all those attributes, all of those mechanisms that will allow us to be successful, for us to have the strength, to have the courage, to have the comfort, to have the knowledge, to have the security of knowing that things are going to be okay. And sometimes sometimes you have to step back and you have to say to yourself mentally, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. I just need to take a breather. And for those of us who are introverts, you pretty much can understand about taking a breather, uh, because you're so overwhelmed with these negative and all this stuff that we're bombarded with, and we have to take a step back and we have to regroup. We have to get our things stuff together. So when you know that you have done everything that you possibly can, when you know that you have gone beyond, or when you know that you have laid the foundation, when you know that you have stayed in your place as a young adult, then you have to allow your spiritual mind to come into play, because your human mind is always going, most of the time, is going to bring confusion, and that's just the makeup that we are. So we have to allow our spiritual mentality to come into play. And sometimes you have to take a step back. We have to, that's why sometimes it's to learn some type of meditation, uh, uh, methods, methodology. And so you know you're going to be okay. You don't know when you're going to be okay, but you know that you're going to be okay. And that's when you know that it is time to step back and it's time to meditate. And there's different ways of meditating. You don't have to sit up. You don't have to be in a chair. You don't have to cross your legs. You don't have to hum or uh, ring bells or anything like that. Depending on you, meditation can be working in the yard. Meditation can be reading a book. Meditation can be crocheting or quilting or something to take your mind off of whatever you're going through. That's meditation. It's letting your body to reconnect, readjust, to modify, to get to the point to know that this is what I have to deal with, and I'm going to deal with it. And so you allow your spiritual mentality to come into play. That's where your faith and your belief, your confidence, your self-assured. All that's where all of that comes into play. Now, if by chance you say that I don't believe, as humans, we believe. We have different levels of belief. We have different levels of faith, but we believe. That's the makeup of being a human. As a human, we have the sense of uh, knowing. We have the sense of we have to believe in something. We have to have that faith in something. All of us, as I stated before, have that human mentality. All of us have that spiritual mentality. And if you are a non believer, you still have some type of spirituality that allows you to deal with what the world is throwing at you. Now, I was taught know your place, stay in your place, accept your place. I was raised to have expectations. I was raised to have responsibilities. I was raised to be responsible. Those were my foundations. You have to understand you. You have to understand the makeup of you. What are your trigger points? What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? So see, that's where your spiritual mentality comes into play, because as humans, we need to believe, we need to belong, we need to know that we are loved, that we are cherished, that we need to be acknowledged, because that's who we are. We being humans, we in our natural forms before we are tarnished and uh, what is it? I don't like the word damage, but because of situations, because of circumstances, uh, most of us need a hug. And I believe in the power of prayer. I believe in the power of a hug. Oh, great morning to you too, Vicky. And so, but that's the makeup of a human. So when my mom got sick, I knew as a child that I never ever disrespected the elders. I never ever disrespected my mom and dad. I knew again my place. I knew my responsibility. I knew my expectations. I knew all of that. So when my mom got sick, I really didn't have any regrets because I had always respected and honored my mom. Now my sister, on the other hand, she didn't have that type of security for whatever reason. And whatever Tammy went through, that was between Tammy and Mama. That was none of my business. I'm only responsibility. I am only responsible for my relationship with individuals. There's none of my business about other individuals' responsibility or their relationships. So when Mama got sick and was hospitalized, um, I knew what my expectations were. I knew what my responsibilities were. Um, if when you're raised by elders, I'm talking about authentic elders. My what is it? I'm 64, so usually if you have between 30 and 40 years, because I'm 64, my grandmother would be 100 and something, so that's 40 something years. So when you have a distinct distance in ages, I call them authentic. So the elders believed that you were to have stayed in the hospital 24/7. I wasn't the one, I'm not the one to stay in a hospital room doing nothing. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand the concept, and I still don't understand the concept of staying in a hospital room. Now, for the first week, I stayed because I needed to find out the routine. I needed to find out, excuse me, I needed to find out when Mama woke up. I needed to find out what her daily routine was during that day. I needed to find out when the doctors came in. I needed to find out what was performed, what was done, what was the routine. When she ate, did she sleep? Was she up? Did she watch television? When she went to bed, I had to know all that. So for a whole week, I did that. And then after that, I made sure that I was there when she woke up. I was there to lunch, or sometimes I left early. And then I knew to be back before she went to sleep. Now, some of the elders were upset with me about that because they felt that I was disrespecting my mom. But you have to understand that was a different generation. So, and then plus two, I have always been of the mindset that if you're not of the immediate family, I understand that you're my elder, but at the same time, if my grandmother doesn't say anything to me, you can't say anything to me. So when something was said, I let them know, and the tone was disrespectful, and I had to let them know technically you need to stay in your place. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. So I knew that the elders were going to tell my mom, tell my grandmother. So I knew to tell Evelyn exactly what I had done, so that way she wouldn't be surprised. And of course, I knew exactly what she was going to say. Uh, you need to go back and to apologize, and I did. But because of me letting go, letting God, I knew that I was going to be okay. I knew that Mama was going to be okay. So when Mama passed away, I was going to be all right. Uh, I know that, and I believe that if you have done all that you can do, if you have respected the elders properly and correctly, that you have no regrets. That's one reason why I don't believe in funerals. I think funerals are for the living. And so that's one reason why I have planned everything ahead of time, because I'm not having, quote unquote, a traditional funeral. I'm not having a wake. I'm not having visitation. I'm not having a graveyard service, because I'm not going to allow anyone to have a platform to ease their conscience. If you can't tell me now how much you appreciate me, and if you cannot give me my roses now, which I like yellow roses, if you cannot do all of that now while I'm living, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of easing your conscience on my time when I can't hear it. I'm not going to do it. Not me. It ain't in me. It's just not in me. So when when you know that you have done the best that you can, when you know that you have performed, when you know that you have done what you couldn't do, if you have taught your children, you have given your children a foundation of a foundation. This is how you are going to be successful. This is what success looks all about. When you know that you have done everything you possibly can, and your child messes up majorly, well, then you step back, you let go, you let God, because you've done what you were supposed to have done as a parent. And nothing more could be asked or requested of you. You've done what you were supposed to do. You raised a child to be productive. You raised a child to be respectful. You gave your child responsibilities. You gave your child expectations. You gave your child obligations. And when you give your children the obligations, the responsibility, the expectations, the world cannot cripple you majorly, because they automatically have the sense that, okay, these are my expectations. This is what my dad, this is what my mom, this is what my family expects out of me. I have no choice in the matter. These are my obligations. I have no choice. These are my expectations, my responsibility, my obligation. I know these. And when you have given your child that, then you step back and you let go, you let God. Then all of us know the prodigal son. And we knew that eventually the prodigal son came home. So, to bring it up to date, some kids are so hard headed they have to learn for themselves. It is what it is, and it's painful and it's hurtful, and you get angry because you know your child knows better. But then that's where you allow your human's mind to cease and you allow your spiritual mentality to come into play. I've done the best that I could. I've done the best that I can. I've done the best. I've done everything that I felt to make you into a productive individual. I've done that. And the reason that I've done that is because of my experiences. One thing I can say about my kids, my former students, I've watched hardcore, no feeling teenagers, males, turn into these loving, caring, compassionate, productive men. They didn't have a father figure. They didn't have a male figure to tell them or to give them an example. They didn't have a model. But these men have developed into, oh, man, these young boys have turned into these exceptional father figures. I remember when I started teaching in '88, we had the Crips, the Bloods, and the Disciples. Now, the gangs have always been there, but they became more visible. They became more, I guess you say, active. And so you had to have a certain type of mentality. You had to have a certain type of personality to be into these gangs. And so I've watched these young boys that were hardcore turn into these fantastic dads. And that child, you'd be surprised how a child, a simple entity, a small bundle of happiness, of joy, can change the persona of an individual. I would distinctly remember an individual being, everybody was scared of him. He had that mentality. And I watched him sit down at this little table with his baby daughter. I mean, he was having tea and he was allowing her to do his fingernail. I said, "Oh, I'm telling." And he told me, he said, he said, "Don't get it twisted. I still got that dog in me." And so he, a small bundle can change. So when you know that this bundle, when you know that you've done all that you can do, then you have to let go and let God. You have to allow your spiritual mentality to come into play. You have to cultivate that spiritual mentality because we have it. We just haven't utilized it. But you have to find your way of connecting to your spiritual mentality. And you don't have to do it in church. You don't have to do it in church. Your spiritual mentality, you have your own relationship with God. or your superior being, whoever it might be. So you have your own relationship with that individual, with that entity, that you have some type of faith, some type of belief, some type of what is it? Hope in. But all of us have that spiritual mentality. You just have to cultivate it. All of us have those genes and the embodiment of being successful. You just have to open it. You just have to enhance it. You just have to utilize it. You have to connect to it. But it's all in us. You just have to take a deep breath, and you just have to say, "Fuck this! I can't handle this. I can't handle this. I need some type of help. I need some type of sight. I need some type of knowledge. I need some type of equipment to be able to deal with this, because right now this is whipping my behind." And sometimes you have to disconnect. You have to step back, and you have to take that time alone. As an introvert, we have to take, we can just deal so much with the world to where we have to step back, and we have to let go. We have to let God. Sometimes dealing with some of you is so emotionally draining that we have to be cautious, especially if you are an introvert. You have to be extremely cautious that you're not drained completely out, because as introverts, sometimes we lose ourselves. And you'd be surprised that the majority, I would say that 98% of entertainers are those individuals who are part of the entertainment world, entertainment industry, are introverts. What you see on stage, what you see on the television is not the real them. That's their persona. That's their stage personality. And most introverts are empaths. And that's when you really have to let go and let God, because we feel everything. We see everything. We see everything with our human eye, but also we see things with our spiritual eyes. And that's really frightening when you see things and you think that you're going crazy. That's why it is of importance that we learn how to let go and let God. That's why it is most important that we understand that sometimes it seems that we can't handle it. And when we think that we can, that's when we make things worse. And it's not a reflection. It doesn't mean that you're weak, doesn't mean that you're incapable. All that means is that right now, this situation, this circumstance, the situation and situation and circumstance that you are undergoing now means that you just need a little bit more oomph. That's what it says. That's what it means. You just have to have a little bit more. Letting go, letting God, does that mean that you're weak? Letting go, letting God gives you the knowledge of knowing that you know your limitations. And sometimes you have to surround yourself with individuals who understand you, that understand that when you disappear, that that's just a signal that you have handled all that you can, and they know exactly what to do. 9 times out of 10, they know just to leave text messages, say, "We're here." And that's all you need to do. We're here. We don't need to talk. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. there are difficulties that are going to come up. There are situations that are going to come up, and you're going to have to learn how to connect. You're going to have to. Losing a parent, losing especially your mom, is the worst feeling in the world because you never feel that emptiness. You'll never feel that hole. You will always have that pain there. You just need to learn how to deal with it. When you have individuals who are hospitalized, when you have individuals that are in hospice, you have to let them know that you are going to be okay. When I was taking classes at the University of Alabama, AP classes, uh, my sister called me and told me that doctor had come in and had asked, had my grandmother seen everybody? And from what I gathered from my aunt, everyone said that no, she hasn't seen Lewis. And he said that, well, that's who she's waiting for. She needs to see Lewis. With being department head, I had already established the matrix, which is a schedule for that year. And because of it being late in the year, I think it was in March, I think that's correct, March, April, uh, there wasn't anything that I could do. So, uh, but it was a necessity. It was an urgency for me to go down to Montgomery. So I talked to the individual over AP classes, and I talked to the professor, and I showed the professor my syllabus, and everything was up to par. So I went to Montgomery, and when I got to the hospital, everyone was in the room, and then I looked around, and everyone had vanished. I didn't even notice them leaving. So I had to let my grandmother know that I was going to be okay. That being selfish, I didn't want her to go, but I knew that it was best for her to go. So I told her that I'm going to be okay. I can tell you, I'm going to be okay. I don't want you to go, but I know that it's your time. Everything that you taught me, I have. I would miss you, and I would love you tremendously. And I squeezed her hand, she squeezed mine, and she went to sleep. Because I had not disrespected my grandmother, I didn't have any regrets. I didn't have any regrets. So it came to time to where I had to let go and let God come in because I was getting close to being extremely drained. So when you are a healthcare, or when you are the caregiver, people don't understand the pressure that a caregiver has. They don't understand the magnitude of taking care of a loved one. They don't understand the responsibility. They don't even understand the job of being a caregiver. My aunt was tremendously, tremendously aware of her mother, of my grandmother. She knew the responsibility that she had, and she handled it extremely well. extremely well. She handled it extremely well without any help from her sister, my mom, and her brother. She did it by herself. And that's usually how it is. It's always one individual in the family that takes on the responsibility because they understood what their position was. They understood the responsibility. And there's always going to be that one that's always going to step up to the plate and do what they have to do without doing it grudgingly, without complaining. They knew that this is what I have to do. If you want to help, you help. If you don't, well, I would rather you just stay out of the picture and leave me the hell alone. Don't come up with any, well, you should know, don't tell me what I need to do because I know what I need to do. And I really don't wish to hear what you have because right now, it doesn't matter. That right now, your opinion has no value to me, has no worth to me because you haven't stepped in. And I don't want to hear anything about, well, I'm working too. I don't want to hear anything about all these excuses because there are no excuses. I don't want to hear about, well, I couldn't handle it. Oh, you could have handled it if you wanted to. You could have handled it if you wanted to. You chose not to, and you used me because you knew that I was going to be the one to do it. See, that's one thing that I had to learn when it came to my grandmother, that what I was a grandson. I was not the son. And even though I'm the eldest of the grandchildren, I wasn't the son. My mom had me when she was 16 years old. So I was raised with my grandparents. Now, my parents were there in the household, but because of mama being 16, my grandmother stepped in and assisted my mom. When I came home from professional centers in Montgomery, I was placed in my granddaddy's arms, and I stayed in my granddaddy's arms while he recuperated from having back surgery. So see, I wasn't seen. My grandmother didn't see me as a grandson. She saw me as her son. And see, that was the one issue that I really got close to being disrespectful to my mom because I couldn't understand with my mom being the eldest child, how she couldn't help the youngest child, my aunt. Because my mom would travel going past Montgomery to go up to Winfield. And she could have stopped over in Montgomery, given my aunt 2 hours breather. And then when she was returning home, she could have stopped in Montgomery and given my aunt a weekend. Because see, when you become a caregiver, it doesn't, a breather is a breather. Whether it's 15 minutes, whether it's 20 minutes, now we would like for it to be longer, but still, a breather is a breather. Give me chance, give me time to get out. Give me a chance to relinquish this responsibility that I have on me. And it's not a burden. It's not a burden. It's not a burden in the sense that we claim it to be. It's not that. Because they do it out of love. They do it out of responsibility. They do it out of respect. And I had to keep in mind that I was not the son. Now, my mom and my aunt, of course, loves their brother. And he's placed on a pedestal because he's their brother. But for my uncle to have the audacity to say that, and he went to his sister, my aunt, and he told my aunt he appreciated what my aunt was doing, that he couldn't do it. I was highly upset that this son of a bitch had the audacity to say that he couldn't do it. You could have done it if you wanted to, but I had to step back and I had to realize that this has nothing to do with me. This had nothing to do with me. If Deborah wished to accept her brother's apology, well, then that's good. That had nothing to do with me. I didn't understand it. I think it was selfishness. I think that it was disrespectful, but that's none of my business. Because, see, I came down from Birmingham every other weekend to give my aunt breather. I did what I felt was my responsibility. But it came a time to where I had to let go and let God. And that's what we have to get to. You have to get to the point of knowing your limitations. You have to get to the point of when you know that I need to let go. God, you need to come in. Oh, Lord, you need to come in. You need to empower my guardian angel. You need to make sure that my guardian angel has the power to make sure that I have the strength, I have the faith, I have the comfort of knowing that I'm going to be okay. I don't feel that I'm going to be okay right now, but I'm going to be okay. You got to let go and you got to let God. You have to allow that superior being that you trust, that you have faith in, that you know that He's going to handle everything. Faith is a powerful thing. Trust is a powerful thing. Hugs are a powerful thing. Prayer is a powerful thing. Because, see, I had a praying grandmother. That's why I am where I am, because of my grandmother's prayer. It was Evelyn. It was Evelyn's prayers that got me through letting go, letting God. So, as a parent, especially in this system of things, especially since everything is so well connected and so well, it's like a tapestry. Everything is woven into this huge tapestry, and everything, the network is there, and everything's combined and woven together tightly, and it's more accessible, it's more easy to reach, it's out there, more attainable. And you want the best for your children. You want you want your children to have what you didn't have, but at the same time, you have to instill in them. You have to instill in them, what are my expectations? What are my obligations? What are my responsibilities? And then once you have endowed them, once you have embedded them, once you have given them that huge, strong foundation, then they become teenagers. And that's where everything that you and see, you don't start teaching a child when a child becomes 12. You start teaching a child when that child is still in the womb. You talk to the child, you read to the child, you play music to the child. And when I say talk, you actually talk. You have a conversation with the child. You express your expectations, you express your obligations, you explain this to the child while the child is in the belly of the mom. That's why, and I don't know why scientists in the last it found out, that's why a child is more comfortable, because the child hears a mom's voice. But see, that child needs to hear the dad's voice. See, you start raising a child before that child is born. You start teaching the child no, responsibilities, expectations, obligations. No, don't touch that. Now we're about to go in here. You do not run, you stay next to me. Don't make me hurt you in this store. See, even though my mom was 16 years old, my mom was never my friend. Excuse me. Eva was never my friend. Eva, Eva would tell me I'm not your friend. No, my mama was never my friend. My mama was always my mom. It seemed like I have this teacher's tone. And there's been several occasions that I guess the teacher's tone came out, and my mom would say, you forget who I am." And I in my head it doesn't sound like I'm using my teacher's tone, but mom would say, you have failed to realize who I am. I'm not one of your students. I'm your mama. Change your tone. And I said, "But mama," and she would point that finger, and I knew that when she pointed that finger, I knew you best to back up. You better let go and let God. Because evil was about to get me. So when you're raising a child and you know that you've done the best for the child, you know that you've done what you could do for that child. And then they reach teenagers, and that's when they start questioning things. And see, that's how you raise a responsible adult, because you allow them to make little mistakes, because those little mistakes are going to teach them about the bigger mistakes. So when you know that you've done the best that you could, that you've given them everything that you could, and understand, depending on the parent, it doesn't mean giving a brand new car. It doesn't mean having brand new clothes. That's not what it's saying. You gave them a sense of what the world is all about. And then they hit teenagers, and they're going to challenge. They're going to challenge what they have been taught. They're going to seek and see exactly what they're going to start spreading their wings. And you need to allow them to spread their wings so that way they understand exactly what the consequences are, because these kids know nothing about consequences. They don't know what consequences are. So when you know that you've done everything that you can do, you taught them the responsibilities, the obligations, you expectations. You taught them about this is how the world is actually, and you've given them what they needed. You have equipped them with everything they need to be successful. Then when they start questioning, then when they start acting out, you step back and you still stay in the role of a parent, because you can't be their friend. You step back as a parent and you allow them to make the little simple mistakes. You show them what the consequences are. So that way, once they become 18 years old, oh boy, and then you let go, let God. You can't beat your head up against the wall because they didn't listen to you. You've done what you were supposed to do as a parent. You gave them love. You gave them security. You've done everything you could do. You step back, you let go, you let God handle it. And yes, it's going to hurt. God knows it's going to hurt. But it's not your fault. You cannot tell an adult what to do. You cannot. You can make suggestions, you can make recommendations, but you cannot tell an adult what to do. So if he or she is 18, 19, 20 years old, they're an adult. They may still be living in under your roof, but they're still an adult. And that's where the consequences come in. Since you're grown, since you don't want to follow my rules and regulations, well, then you find you a place. And if they want to be pig-headed and hard-headed and say, okay, fine, and they leave, well, let them leave. They're going to be back. They're going to be back because they don't seem to understand that you were the security blanket. You were that pillar of fluff that when they fell, it was easy. Well, see, the security's not there any longer. The pillar that was pluff isn't there any longer. They're going to come back. You have to let go, and you have to let God. You have to allow your spiritual mentality to take place. Because in some difficult situations, your human mentality is not set up to handle it, because you're going to only make it worse. And this is not the time nor the place to make the situation worse. You step back, you take a deep breath, and you go to a room and you cry. You go to a place and you pray. You give it to God. You say, okay, you pray. You let him know that I can't handle this. I don't know what to do. Tell me, show me what I need to do. And once you've done that, you leave it alone. You let go, you let God, because see, we fail to realize that when we pray, when we ask God for guidance, when we ask God for directions and directives, and when we give it, you let go, you let God, and you let him handle it. It's done. It's done. Now he unfortunately, he's not going to do it in our time. He has his own time to do things, but you giving it to him. You giving it to him. When I was diagnosed with myasthenia gravis, it devastated me. Devastated me. I was lifting weights. I was looking good. Oh man, I had hair back. I had hair back then. I had a body. I had a body. I had a chest with muscles. My roommate Steve used to laugh at me because I would come in from the shower and I would brush my hair, and the chest muscles would flex and all, and he would hypnotize me. I was really, I was hypnotized. And he would laugh at me, and I said, "Yeah, you're laughing because you've always had muscles." So when I was diagnosed with myasthenia gravis, that knocked the wind out of me. And the doctor gave me 6 weeks to a year to live. Now I'm in my 20s. I'm going into my sophomore year, and I'm just starting to take my classes. And now all of a sudden you tell me I have myasthenia gravis and you give me 6 weeks to a year to live. This isn't fair. It's not fair. So we went back to the house. My grandmother told me that doctor has only so much he can do, but he doesn't have the last say. He doesn't have the last say. I want you to go to your room. I want you to pray. I want you to ask God for knowledge. I want you to ask God for ask God for whatever you feel that you need. So I did. I talked to God as if he was sitting beside me. And I told him, I can't handle this. I need help. I need to understand what is going on. I need I need strength. I need courage. I need understanding. I need to know what I need to know. And I'm coming to you. You say that where there's one or more that you're there. I'm asking for help because I need that now. Help me. Take this because I can't take this. And so after I prayed, came outside. Came out, left the room. Grandmother's still sitting at the breakfast table. And I told her that I did. She said, well, we're not going to talk about this again. She said, you've given it to God. Now he's going to handle it. And he's going to handle it in his own time. So we're not going to talk about this. We're not going to bring this up again. It's done. You prayed. It's done. You prayed. It's done. You prayed. It's done. He's going to handle it. Let go. Let God. So see, when we pray, we have the tendency of when we pray, we don't seem to understand that you have let go and let God. You don't seem to understand that you've given it to him, let him deal with it. But now then we get around certain individuals, and then they have this negativity, they have this toxicity, and then we have these doubts. And once you have doubts to enter, well, then you basically, you not basically, you've taken back your prayer. You've taken what you've given to God back. You cannot, once you prayed, you've given it to God. Once you prayed, you have let go, you let God, you have given him the responsibility of handling it. And then when faith comes into play, that's when faith and belief comes into play. You never allow negativity, you never allow doubt to come into play. You have done what you're supposed to do. You prayed for your child. You have let go, let God. You have prayed for your child. Protect them. You have let go, let God. And you have the faith to know that your child is going to be okay because you have prayed, you have given it to God, and you have let go and you have let God take control over it. And you don't allow negativity. Yes, there was a shooting up in the school. Okay. You have taught your child to know that when there's certain situation or circumstances, you've taught your child to read the surroundings, to pay attention to the surroundings, so you know that your child knew to get their behinds out of whatever, if it's possible. So you have prayed and you let go. You've given it to God. You have allowed your spiritual mentality to come into play because you know everything's going to be okay. Let go, let God. Sounds easy, and it is. It's not complicated. Not complicated at all. I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming in. Have a fantastic Wednesday. Hump day. Know your value. Know your worth. Know that you control everything about you. Know that sometimes you have to let go and let God handle it. And he's going to handle it in his own good time. And most importantly, know that I love you more than I love my luggage. I will see you Monday. Y'all take care of yourselves. Peace.